everyone. I see people are still joining, getting their audio connected. For those of you that are here and ready and connected, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're joining from. I know for me, I'm in the US in the smack middle of the country, the good old Midwest, but where is everyone else joining from today? San Diego, a lot. We got snow here today, so I'm guessing San Diego is a little bit warmer than that.
Not too much, I'll tell you that.
Ooh, Nigeria, Texas. That's a big time difference. We appreciate you being here today. Canada, Texas, Seattle
Austin,
again, Boston.
Boston.
there's Bijou.
We're
Hi,
so
Bijou.
excited to have you all here today. And as people are trickling in, we're going to go ahead and get started for today. As it says, this is an unplugged conversation about leadership, life, and lessons that can kind of help you in your career. We have the experts on the call with us, and I'm going to be happy to pass it over to them shortly. But first, we want to hear from you all. When it comes to leadership preparedness, what are the challenges that you're facing? Let us know in the chat. I know for me, I'm a very excitable person. So sometimes I can just start going. And it's always good to slow down and look at all the steps and the processes that you're doing. But very excitable and just making sure, for me, making sure people are on the same page as me, that can be a challenge sometimes because when you have a passion for something, you know the details and not everyone else always knows those details. But let us know in the chat what are your challenges with leadership? Oh, see, another big time zone. Thank you for joining from India.
And there are no bad answers today. Every answer counts.
Also, if you already think you're the leadership expert, put that in the chat as well. We won't be offended. We want to hear from you too.
Calgary, a lot from Canada today.
Yeah, from Bangalore too. Christina, hi.
Tucker and Chai, well, people are thinking
Hi,
of
Chai.
Hello.
their answers. Can you go ahead and let us know maybe some challenges you all have faced as leaders and some things that you've learned?
Chaitra, you want to kick it off?
Okay, so let me talk about leadership. I would say is, even when people look at you and say you're leading, there's always the preparation you have to go through the preparation. One of the biggest thing is because when you're running at 100 miles an hour, you don't get enough time for reflection because the learning comes from reflection, not learning is on when you're doing the work. When you sit down, you reflect, you start to see where are your blind spots and how do you navigate. That's where, kind of the challenges is I don't have enough times to really reflect as I would like to be because I've spent writing a lot, but lately it's not been there. And my team knows is I'm snapping more than I should be, or I get irritated more because I've not got a time to think through it. So that is all kind of the areas is there's always challenges is understanding your blind spot
Yeah.
and having the group to help you with that.
I think that's fantastic to hear. And we did get a response as well. Rebecca, I think that's perfect that once you're a leader, you need to maintain a certain level of gravitas. And so being less excitable and maintaining that balance, even though bringing that kind of joy and energy to leadership is always great, it's kind of finding that balance in between to make sure that you can still be the leader to other people that you need to be and maintain your passion. I think that's a really good point, Rebecca.
I think I
So
would add on leadership, and from my perspective, it is such a broad subject matter, and sometimes it's hard to really tackle what being a leader means. And for me, historically, and it's taken 49 years on this planet to figure out how to get over it, is the people pleasing element of it, trying to be everything to
yes.
everyone and making sure that, oh, am I going to be liked or this or that, and losing myself in the process. So I think one of the things we'll talk about today, executive presence and finding leadership within rather than always having to feel like we're seeking out. That's always been an issue in Chaitra, and I noticed even from day one when we met, that's something we've been working on. So
I think that's a fantastic point, Tucker, and a beautiful segue into a little short trailer we want to show you all of other leaders in the community and some of the work that Women in Cloud is doing with leadership development.
So the market is $7 trillion, and we have a less than a 2% representation in how we build technologies. Being an icon starts with a choice. Continuing to look at your goals through the glass ceiling or breaking through it.
We don't like it. We don't even like to look under the rock, but we do have to acknowledge it.
And I asked for help, and a guy turned around and looked at me and said, "You don't belong here."
And that was an inspiration to build Women in Cloud movement, where each and every one of us come together to create active access by serving, by influencing and partnering with each other.
Having to have such kind of platform for women is a change maker, basically.
Your strength is your voice, and don't let anybody tell you differently.
Once you show up and you do the work, and then you can become the next icon in the world.
What a fantastic trailer and a fantastic representation of people in the Women in Cloud community and leaders that we will hear from some of them today. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Chaitra and Tuckers, the experts on the call today.
I'm going to take it away. I'll start with you.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate all the global presence here today, which is fantastic, between India and Canada, Nigeria, which is fantastic. So thank you for being here. Chaitra and I are calling our session today Leadership Unplugged, and we wanted to be able to have a raw, authentic conversation and dialogue around our views of leadership, what we've been hearing in our own community here at Women in Cloud, what are the struggles, the opportunities, and be that voice for all of you today. We encourage conversation. If you have any questions regarding leadership, the more that you participate today, the better and more rich the conversation will be. So we definitely encourage you being a part of today. So even though it's Chaitra and I talking, this is an open dialogue, an open conversation. So we're excited for all of you to be here. In fact, Chaitra, it'd be kind of fun to tell everyone how you and I met and what our origin story is, because I think it's definitely relevant to today's conversation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tucker. First is welcome, everyone. Did you like the Icons trailer? Put it in the chat, yes or no, because we got a standing ovation at South by Southwest when we screened the movie. And the movie is ready for rolling out in all the global markets. And each one of you have access to screen the movie in your community and lead the dialogue. So again, thank you all for just being part of the journey. Building a 100,000 member community was, when someone says, was it easy? I don't know if it was easy, but it was something I would say it made me a better person. I showed up for people much for them as a friend and took them in a journey of transformation as I transform personally. So coming to the origin story with Tucker, I met with him was fascinating. It was not like was meant to meet. It was like I wanted to go and say, all my friends were saying, you have to do is a TED Talk. And for 10 years, I was in the TED ecosystem in the backdrop, doing the speaker readiness, helping all the speakers to be ready for all their TEDx conversation. Simon Sinek was one of the speakers who I supported during early on in his life. And look at him, he's gone into being the massive phenomena in the ecosystem. But during that time, people said, you should speak. And I said, I had nothing to talk about. What will I talk about? I just came out from corporate world, other than, bossing people over and saying what to do. What are you going to go and do? Talk about that. So it was not something. They said, no, the way you serve people is what you need to think about. So I had applied for a coaching program for TEDx. And there comes Tucker. He comes and meets me at Seattle. And it was an instant connection. He kind of convinced me is the reason why I need to do my TED Talk is not for me. It is to help the other people to see how you can unlock economic access. And that journey has been transformative for last 5 years. He is near and dear, a friend to me. So whenever I am having a mental meltdown, it would be Tucker on the phone on the other side. When say it's not always women, right? There's also men in your life who actually pick you up and say, oh, you can really look at it with a very different perspective, because leading a community is not an easy task. I'll tell you that. Sometimes you fail, sometimes the others fail, but both of them, you have to pull each other and move forward. The things that I learned working with Tucker is how to tell a story effectively. What does it take to tell a story instead of doing a corporate speech, right? Corporate speech is like, this is what it is, you have to do this and boom, go execute, but not really connect. So he kind of guided me on how to care about people with the words. And there was one statement he said, and I know I'm going to butcher it, but I'll tell you that, is like, the words that you speak is the house you live in. And did I say it right, Tucker?
Pretty much, yeah, spot on.
What is the real sentence?
It's actually a philosopher called Hafiz, and it's the words we speak become the house we live in.
Okay, so there you go. So that one was the profound quote that caught my attention. And from there onwards, the first thing I did was started to change my language on how I speak, what I speak, how I engage with people. And it has changed or transformed the things in my head, and how I look at people has transformed. So now I lead with love. And even when I'm giving feedback, it comes from a place of love. There's no there's no FOMO, there's no fear, there is no, what do you call this? Jealousy or envy. None of those comes, because truly it is helping the other person transform so they can unlock their true potential. So that's kind of my origin story with Tucker, 5 years. And not only he has helped me, but he has helped hundreds of women. I would say thousands of women in Women in Cloud become fabulous speakers in the world. And we continue to keep doing it till we reach the 1,000 women on global stages. That's our mission together. Tucker, did I say the story well?
I appreciate it. That was one of those moments where we met at the lobby of a hotel, when we just started talking, and you bring up a couple points that I think are very relevant to today, especially women in leadership. And I think the first one is, we've been told that storytelling is left to our personal devices for friendships, relationships outside of the office, and that personal stories, or the way in which we connect with stories, especially in the corporate world, is either frowned upon or it's not necessary. It doesn't really add value. And I think today you'll see a lot of that actually is completely a false narrative, and that's part of what we're changing today. And I think the other thing too, as leaders, we often, especially being in the corporate world for quite some time, we become, our own brand is defined by the role in which we play within an organization. It's a title. You walk into a room, a cocktail party, an event, or whatever it is, what's the first thing people ask you? What do you do, right? So we've clearly been defined very much so by the role and the responsibilities that we have in our job. But the reality is, where people actually connect more so is who you are as an individual. Chaitra's heard me say a million times, and I know there's a few of you here in the insider circle and part of the community, as humans, we buy an emotion and justify with logic. Too much of corporate leadership is focused on the logic, and we end up stripping out the human emotion part of it. So if that's where we're starting to buy, why are we ignoring the purchase process by going directly to the logic? So I think you'll see in today's conversation, hopefully, a voice of permission that says, I can, relinquish a lot of that, kind of antiquated narrative and focus on what we could be doing differently. So thank you, Chaitra.
Thank you, Tucker. So one of the things that you will know is we have not prepared anything. You can ask any question. Whatever comes out of our mouth is zero preparation. So it's going to be fun for you to see what is the gossip you're going to get out of us. What is the most insightful aha moment that will come out of us? I don't know. So it is for you. We are here. We want to hear what you want to learn today. Okay, so there's one question, Tucker, we have is, how do you keep your strengths and remain authentic while also changing to become a strong leader? A great question, Rose. I have an answer, but may not be the right answer. But Tucker, I'll start with you first.
That's actually, Rose, fantastic question. I think one of the things, kind of going back to my initial comment, was we often feel, and I am a recovering people pleaser, I'll be the first one to say it, so there's my raw, authentic self, that we often find ourselves in a place of trying to be everything to everyone and then end up being nothing to no one, and we really dilute the effectiveness of what we could actually do to show up. One of the hardest things to do is to stand strong in our morals, our values, without feeling like we have to be kind of, huddled in a corner or fearful of that. Remaining authentic specifically is allowing you to focus on your strengths and work your strengths and not overcompensate and try to make your weaknesses or perceived weaknesses strengths. I call it zone of genius, right? Focus on your zone of genius. We were not born into this world to know everything and do everything and be the Jack and Jill of all trades. We have certain gifts, and sometimes we ignore those in order to make sure that our weaknesses don't show or that our weaknesses become strengths. Let that go, because at the end of the day, your weaknesses are somebody else's strengths, right? So when you think about authenticity and remaining authentic to yourself, understand your zone of genius. Write it down, figure out what that looks like. That's where your leadership ability is really going to shine, not on being able to lead from all aspects of the planet. So I think that to me would be a great place to ground yourself and start. And don't be afraid to ask people, what are my strengths? I encourage everyone that I work with, and anyone in Women in Cloud, I'll say, is talk to a friend. What's your personal board of directors? Allow them to give you some feedback. What do they see as the greatest strengths that you have? Often we are the biggest blinders to our own self, and we really don't know what those strengths are, even though we're pursuing them every single day. So let somebody else help you craft what that narrative looks like. So hopefully that answers a little bit of that question. Chaitra, do you have anything to add to it?
Absolutely, Tucker. First is I love what you said, but when it comes to a strong leader, I think it is a persona that you want to have within you, that you care about people, right? It's caring. My son said yesterday, I was saying, yeah, we are talking about this unplugged conversation, and we are talking about leadership. It's like how hard it can be talking about leadership. I said, why? I said, leadership is all about sustainable friendship. That's all it is. If you can be a friend to people and you show up for them, it will be fantastic. That's what makes a friendship. When you are there for the other person, they see you, that you showed up for them, and the words that you used and how you have a conversation with them shows that you care about them. So here's my 3 C's of friendship I want you to, kind of activate within your network, whether it's 1 person or 5 or 100. And this is kind of how I lead with, and it is my framework that I use. The 3 C, first C stands for celebrate, like celebrate your friends. If you see something they have done on Facebook or on LinkedIn, go and pick up the phone and call them and say, wow, that one was pretty cool. And truly celebrate. Zero envy, no jealousy, because trust me, the FOMO and all those things kicks in. It is a natural phenomenon. Go do that one. And that one will tell the other person, you're giving a signal to the other person that you want to celebrate with them and really have great. I like the metaphor of movies, so it will help you kind of understand what I mean. If you get a chance on Netflix, there's a movie called as Nayad. This is a lady who swims across Cuba to Florida, and her friend is Bonnie. And I always tell to my friends is, I want to be the Bonnie in your life. She's the one cheering more than anyone. She's taking all the things and really cheering for that moment. And if you look at the last piece of that segment of that, when she finishes the whole 60 plus miles that she swims, when she brings her to the land from the water, that particular piece is truly the celebration moment. And you will cry when you watch that because it was so beautifully put. The second one is collaborate with people to drive commerce. That means you're collaborating with them to create commerce activities, not just collaborate, hey, we want to partner with you. No, look at it and say, how can we partner to either raise funds for a nonprofit or kind of help somebody to get a scholarship, or let's go create a go-to-market for a company to win. Think about what you can do with them. So the conversation with them as you're building a relationship is trying to drive a commerce activities at the end of the day. That is power, because then you're bringing all your resources to come together to really drive the transformation and change. The third C is also called is console. You also have to console the person when bad days come. And there are more bad days that happen in a woman's life than in men, unfortunately. You have to take care of your kids, you have to take care of parents, you have to take care of God knows all the things on the planet. And there are days that you need somebody to pick you up, and you have to console them as a true friend. When you do those three things correctly, trust me, they will say, you were a leader, you were my role model, and I appreciate you being in my life. And trust me, you'll be seen every single day. And if you use that formula effectively, then I promise you, within a week, you will get a note from your friend or somebody you want to become a friend with. They say, oh my God, this person is amazing. They saw me, they care about me, they understand what I really need. So those are the three C's for having a sustainable friendships, and then to become a good leader.
I love that. I always like having C's. C's are my favorite alliteration. So C's are always good. Real quick before we move on, Susan, so good to see you. Susan, answer your question. Very simple. Here's how I do it. Every single first of the month at 8 a.m., I have a calendar reminder. The calendar reminder says view vision board. And what I do is I evaluate, did I do anything this month to do, make steps towards getting to that vision? And if I didn't, I reevaluate. So part of calendaring it, sometimes I always say out of sight, out of mind, but if you keep it at the forefront, it holds you accountable. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that with you before I moved on. Alex, you had a great question. I'm going to read
Let me add you to the Susan question. I think there's a couple of
Oh.
other ways of how I, as a woman, do it, right? When I saw the vision board, I have that one, but then I create as a hashtag for that particular change that I want to see. And then I say, what is that program, or like the hashtag is the program or a name, and that is there on my notes. And I think about it. What is the impact? Why am I doing this? Is this something I really want? But at the end of the day, is the person that I want to become, am I becoming every single day? It's the identity and the emotional state and the spiritual state you want to get there. So I kind of use that as my reflective process. So that's just, hopefully it answers your question.
No, I think that's great. Thank you for adding that. Alex, I want to address the question because it's a fantastic question. I'll read it real quick. For those of us that might be more introverted and behind the scenes, how do we build leadership skills and develop our brands without having to always take center stage? I think to answer that, there's this assumption that leadership means you have to be in the spotlight. And the spotlight means you're out there on your own and everybody else is surrounding you. I'm a firm believer, and this, again, took me 49 years to figure out, that servant leadership creates the strongest leaders. And that is often done behind the scenes. The way in which you connect with others. Similar to what Chaitra was saying in terms of building relationships, relationship leadership is sometimes the most powerful. It creates trust, it creates courage, it creates reliability. Those are the individuals that we're going to trust the most. I mean, you're seeing all sorts of shakeups around CEOs. You see what, Boeing is going on right now, all sorts of shakeups. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they didn't surround themselves necessarily with the right people, and they tried to put themselves out there on their own. They didn't surround themselves with a community of like-minded individuals. When you surround yourself with a community of like-minded individuals, that in itself is leadership. Behind the scenes leadership, silent leadership. I want to do a quick example, and I'll let Chai chime in too. I went to an emotional intelligence program a few years back, and there was 60 of us. There was this constant fight to get to the stage so that people were heard, right? And it was like the most popular people ended up looking like the leaders. At the very end, A woman got up, walked to the podium. Nobody had heard from her at all during the entire program. And she said, I just want to let you know, most of you probably don't even know my name. You probably don't even know what I do. But I sat here for the last 3 days and observed every single thing you said and every single act that you took. And I'm telling you right now, that is my superpower. I absorbed everything that you heard and you saw, and I will translate that into my own version of leadership. It was a mic drop. And one of the most, I don't remember what those other people fighting for the stage said, but the one thing that she said specifically is what stood out for me. So don't underestimate the power of silent leadership as well. Chaitra?
Tucker, I did a silent leadership for probably 20 years in my career. Nobody knew behind, I used to be behind the scene. I used to love it because it was my safe space. That's where I thrive and shine. That's where the real conversation and relationships happen. The last 5 years has been like transformative because I have to come in front of the stage, and it has been one of the most revolutionary, work you had to do because you had to move from silent leadership to more visible leadership. Now, I can share with what I learned early on in my college. I used to do fashion shows, which not many people know about, and I used to love it. First I started, they said, oh, you have to go on the ramp and walk. I did for the first time and I did not like it. So, and I said, that's not for me. But there was one person who was sitting on the chair and watching and kind of telling everybody what is done, how it's done, what are the changes that I kind of caught the attention when I was on the stage. I was like, oh, I want that role because there is less stress because everybody is listening to that person. So I went and stood there and became an apprentice to that role. And what I realized is being in the back, there are more decisions to be made on what happens on the stage. More negotiations needs to be done, more trading, kind of bartering that happens. For me, that one was most exciting. Today also, that's like my role. I love that part. So that's why when someone says, I want to take the stage, I'm like, please do. I'm ready to give you. I will give you like 2 minutes. I will say what it needs to be, or the last one, which is the closing of whatever is required. But putting a light on others is also a very unique skill, and that comes from a silent leadership capability.
Excellent. Any other questions coming through on the chat? I don't see any new ones.
Are you all enjoying this conversation? Yes.
We have more. There's more coming.
Yeah. Put it in the chat for us. At least we know that we are engaging in a conversation with you.
I have a quick question, Chaitra and Tucker. I was going to type it out, but it was getting long. Can you talk a little bit about, you mentioned something I think is really important, especially with Black History Month having happened and Women's History Month. You talked about finding like-minded individuals. Can you talk about that versus creating space for people with different ideas or different thoughts? And I'm standing, I don't know if you can see behind me, I'm in a big conference hall here in Connecticut where I was just in a legislative meeting. Everybody up on the stage was a white man over 50, and they represented the leadership for the state of Connecticut. All wonderful people, all with really good ideas. But the first thing that struck me in coming into that room was, here's a bunch of like-minded individuals, even if they have slightly different opinions, whichever side of the aisle they're on. So I'm wondering if you guys can talk about that a little bit. Difference between like-minded and making space for others.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think what comes to mind when I first hear that, and it's something that happens quite often. And I think part of it too is we go back to routine. And what I mean by routine is we don't allow ourselves to be brave enough or courageous enough for the ask. So we fall back on what's familiar. We fall back on complacency because it's safe. I think part of it is having the courage to ask questions and be able to put ourselves in the forefront of wanting to take on more opportunities. I always encourage, specifically when I'm working with individuals, and going back to silent leadership, what does it look like as a healthy and safe work culture? Do you have that? Do you feel safe and do you feel comfortable being able to have a conversation? If you don't, find other individuals that feel the same way and have that collective support. You don't have to take on these issues by yourself. That doesn't necessarily make for leadership, right? It can make for a bit of a renegade or a rebel, but it's also great to find other individuals. It starts with also being able to be vulnerable enough to have that storytelling component. What are issues that are, that you're struggling with or having problems with? If you haven't created a culture, or there isn't a culture within your workplace that has that, it's going to continue to perpetuate the cycle of falling back on what we know, right? And it's always been in that case. Women in Cloud has been a very different situation because Chaitra doesn't lead that way. Chaitra will never lead with complacency or falling back on routine. There's always something new at the forefront, and there's always something rewarding in the risk. And I think sometimes we equate risk as being either weak or being fearful or being bully or being that person that is just trying to shake things up. But risk is an opportunity. It's reward in disguise, and we don't allow ourselves to take the reward. That might be a roundabout way of answering the question around that. But part of it, I think, is taking away some of the silence and being able to have a voice, say it. And I always say, and I said this at Women in Cloud, gosh, Chaitra, whenever our last in summit was 2020, right before COVID, I said, if you don't feel safe or comfortable enough to share how you feel about the organization, the culture, the work product, or anything, you're in the wrong organization. And bottom line, it might be tough to hear, but at the same time, nothing's going to change, and that cycle will perpetuate if you don't change that. So I don't know, Chaitra, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, Marian, a very good question. So I do see there, when I see like only men or only women on the panels or any conversation, the first thing I look at is, was it intentional or was it unintentional? Because sometimes you just don't know. If it is intentional, well, that is a malice act, right? That is really a malice act. That means is you're doing it to really rile up the community or making unnecessary anxiety for others. Let's say they had a good intention, but then you go back and say, why didn't a woman show up? Or maybe someone else from a different race show up? What is that one? Usually you'll realize is that the preparedness to speak on that topic does not, that the people with that skill does not exist. And I'll give you a very good example. When we were doing is a Women in Cloud ESG Sustainability Summit, we were looking at all the people in the ecosystem. And when we looked at LinkedIn, we looked at, asking for our network, 90% of the speakers were men and 10% were women. So I was like, wow, that is pretty interesting. Now, how do you balance that one? What we did was we worked with the Insider Circle members to talk about ESG work. And we talked about with our board of advisor to talk about ESG. So we created a lot of content before the summit so the women can also confidently talk about it. And we also did an accelerator for women to get prepared on it. Now, if I ask Crystal to stand up and talk about ESG, trust me, she can talk for 3 days nonstop, or maybe more, because she's prepared. She has done the research. She has worked on it. So when we nominate her into those conversations, let's say for Davos, if we nominate her, she can hold that conversation and the space very confidently. So that's kind of the first piece they have to look at is, do we have enough the talent who have preparedness as well as the courage to talk? That is a piece which is missing in the market today for women, because women are not putting enough effort to go and say, I want to gain the mastery in that subject. And that's the work we have to do. The second is I look at the dollars. Where is the dollars coming from and who is investing in the event? So you start to look at the sponsors. And when you look at the sponsors, you say, okay, so they care about diversity, but they didn't really speak about it. Usually I'll go to the sponsor and say, can you put someone from your company to be on the stage? And here are the people from Women in Cloud who are ready to go on the stage to represent your brand. when you do it, if it was unintentional, usually they'll say, such a fantastic, thank you for saving our face. We appreciate it, right? So those are the ways, Marianne, is like really you have to double click till you figure out. But by the time you go and talk to the folks there, and you say, is like, I can bring in a different perspective and a different set of women to come and talk about, would you be open for it? If they say yes, then you know it was unintentional issue. But if they say, no, we don't want to do it, then you know they have malice. And that's the one you need to highlight and say, is this a group I want to associate with or not associate with? So that's kind of how I go about it. Hopefully it helps you kind of how I think through it is preparedness, and do we have the right people? Can you nominate someone? Or if you have someone who has the money, if they are not ready, can you bring in a power of money and you can go shift the narrative? Because where the money goes, you can change the narrative.
Yeah, I want to add to that because I think being maybe the only male on the call that I've seen so far, to offer, because I love this unplugged version of this Chaitra, because we can kind of go back and forth. A few years back, working with Barry, we did a panel on allyship, and it was all men, specifically for the Women in Cloud Summit, and I helped coach that group. We had our first call, and it was just all of us men. There was I think 5 on the panel, me, and I asked the question, I said, why are you all here? And they said, we want to have a voice in women having a voice. And they said, the single greatest problem, we are scared to do it for fear of being canceled. And that is such a huge issue I want to bring to the table. And I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of men. They want to be a part of the movement to do that, but there is so much fear embedded in a lot of the other kinds of movements for them to be able to say something without feeling judged. So to that point, Mary, in terms of thinking about how do we bring up conversations, sometimes it's having those silent conversations behind the scenes. It doesn't have to be publicly, expressed or whatnot, but it's having the courage on both sides to be able to ask and have those conversations. And that ended up being one of the panel topics specifically was help us help you. We're not here to tell you how to do it. We want you to tell us how to do it. And I think part of it is there's a bit of a, polarization around that conversation. And I think you'd be surprised how many people want that change, but they just don't know how to do it. So I think having these conversations would be incredibly helpful.
Marianne, did we answer your question? I know we went roundabout to get there, but.
Yeah, I think so. I think part of it is just having these conversations and sharing experiences, and then being able to take what we learn together into another space. So you've inspired me to go and talk to the organizer. These were all elected officials, but there was an opportunity for somebody to look at the panel ahead of time and say, this is what this is going to look like. Here are 5 other people we could include, even as a moderator, that would have helped change the dynamic and the discussion and would have made more people in the room feel welcome and feel like they were part of the conversation. So thank you very much. You inspired me to go and do that after this call.
Yeah, and Marianne, anything you need, we are with you. Tell them you have a force of 100,000 people across 67 countries. One amplification is enough to either go in the right direction or the wrong direction. You choose, but you're coming with open arms to collaborate with each other.
Excellent.
Talking about diversifying kind of maybe your resources or even the people that you're around, can you both speak to how leadership plays into trust and how you build trust with people as a leader, or vice versa, how you kind of build trust as potentially like a subordinate, for lack of a better word, with a leader?
Chaitra, I'm going to let you take that one. You've done a lot of executive presence, and your rock of trust concept. I think you're a leader in that space.
Fantastic question, Marissa. Do all of you have the same question? How do you build trust with each other? trust is a very emotional word, and you don't want to take it lightly. When someone says, I trust someone or I don't trust someone, that's the time you actually activate your reflective process. And when you build the right trust with someone, that means is they can rely on you. You're open and honest in whatever the conversation, it's authentic and they can see through it, like you're not running behind the bushes to get to the point, and you get to the real reason for it. You're competent, like you can really get things done. If you can get it done, you'll find someone to get it done. And then you're compassionate. That means you understand the other person, which is the caring component that comes in. So the framework is called Rock of Trust. It's ROCC, that's the framework. So the R stands for reliability. So when you're looking at someone, this is the very one. Pick a name of a person you don't trust in your life. Just write the name on the page. And just say, I don't trust them. Just write it there. I'll tell you how fast you will know why you don't trust them. Okay. Are you all ready? Just say yes. Okay, so you say the name of the person, you say, I don't trust them. And then on the left-hand side, write down the acronyms ROCC, ROCC, write it down. So R stands for reliability. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being they are extremely reliable, you go and give a score for them. That means if you send a note, they will respond to you, they'll send you a text, they'll call you, they're on top of the game, they are looking out for you, they are the Bonnies in your life. They will stand up before you even think about it. They know exactly what to do. Done? Okay. O stands for open and honesty. Write down the score on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being they're very open, they're very honest, they give you the raw truth so you can really take the right decision. 0 or 1 is like they don't even tell you, like, they're always dodging on that topic. Okay, they never tell you the truth. Okay, then C stands for competent. That means if they say they're good at it, this is a mastery of their skills. That they can get things done. If they say, oh, I will get you this contact, I'll make you those connections, I will help you out, don't worry about it, but time goes by, they don't do it. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is highly competent, or 1 is like they're just not competent at all. They cannot get things done, okay? And the last C is compassionate. They really understand you. They understand what you're going through. They're taking things off your plate rather than adding one more task and another task and creating more chaos in your life. They truly care. They put themselves in your shoes. Write it down on a scale of 1 to 10. So now add it up. Add it up. So give me the scores that you got. On a scale of 40, what are you don't need to give me the names of the person. Just tell me what did you get, the scores. Put it in the chat. 7, oh my God, then fantastic. Okay, 12, look at that one. 16, 15, 11. See, I gave you a formula now to measure. As soon as you say, I don't trust that, you activate this formula. So if you look at, if you have low trust, that means is you have to start to have a conversation, and you tell them is, listen, I have a trust problem with you, and let me talk about why I feel that we are not able to establish the trust conversation or trusted relationship, and you talk about each one of them. And it will help you to kind of understand them a little bit more before severing the relationship, because when you have a low trust with them, they probably have a low trust with you. So it's a mutual bidirectional relationship. So whatever it says ROCC, Amber, ROCC, R for reliability, O for openness, C for competent, and C for compassionate. So that's kind of the fastest way to kind of assess, do you have a trusted relationship with? If you do not have 34 or higher, they are the people that needs to be either removed from your network, very easy. That means they go out of the Rolodex. and to remove them out of the Rolodex, or hopefully you understand Rolodex, it's your contact cards. Especially if you're new, young. So I just wanted to, if in your contact list, identify who you want to make sure that the relationship is back on track, then you spend time. People you don't want to have a good relationship, let it go. It's the very easy way. I will tell you, the energy around your life becomes so good. The energy vampires will go away. They'll take the mental space and make your brain get activated to do more of good stuff. So it's 34 and higher is what you want in your trusted relationship. And sometimes they're at 35 or 40, but sometimes they also go to 1 or 2 because you did something that caused that trust to go sever. So that's where you need to go back and have the real conversation. And the fastest way you know when a trust is broken is they get isolated, or you feel isolated, you get triggered, you're talking about it, you can't go to sleep, you're angry, you're kind of talking to lots of people about that person. That's how you know there's a trust has been violated. So that is just a very simple formula for you to activate. And trust me, I do it every single day. So my circle of friends are really amazing. So when I call them, they are there for me. When they call me, I'm there for them. So imagine Women in Cloud is based on a very high trusted circle. So if you see the network, that's why it is thriving, because we have a very high trusted relationship with each other. And when you do not follow that formula or the framework, trust me, what happens? They don't get the attention they need. They automatically just go away to the groups that they feel like is the right circle. But bring good people in your life. And if they don't know, teach them this formula and make them a better person. So then they are also living a very high quality life, because they have high trusted relationship. And what I have learned is early on in your life, if in your school, if someone, betrayed you, or someone who violated you, or they didn't do an explicit consent and bullied you, whatever the thing is, that usually has a deep-seated story in your head. And that causes a lot of the other spirals and situation in your life. So just kind of pay attention why you don't trust people and what's the reason behind it. And this is where I enjoy when someone says, I don't trust them. And I'm like, oh my God, this is my moment. And now I have to go deeper. Let's go have a conversation. And then you realize is like, oh my God, it is both the parties have caused that. And it's something you can literally activate and have a good conversation. Because if you know both of them are good people. It's just that relationship is poor communication and not paying attention to each other's needs.
Yeah.
Is that helpful to all of you? Did you learn something interesting?
Yes. We already have people talking about they're going to put the rock of trust into their new routines.
So Tucker, someone said is like when I was in Hollywood 2 weeks ago, they said, oh, Chaitra, this is a Black Mirror story right there. Like it is. I said, yeah, it's an AI product. It's right in my head. And when someone comes, it's like automatically it goes. I just have a number, it gets calculated. But I think it's for good reason. You're preserving your energy, you're preserving your peace, you're preserving your quality of life. You don't want to waste a single minute of it. Neither a single ounce of energy should be wasted on thinking about why somebody did this to you. It should be that clear in your life.
No, thank you for that, Chaitra. I think, one of the things, and I know Rose brought this up too, is, it's easy to spend so much time investing in skill building around the technical aspects of things. Going back to the roles and responsibilities of our jobs, skilling up on certain things. It's rare that we find enough individuals that have the resources or are willing to invest in the soft skills. And that's where this Unplugged session was really focused on, was we can't forget the soft skills, because at the end of the day, the hard skills are limited, but the soft skills are unlimited. And I think that's one of those things that it would be great to invest more time in. So I'm really happy that this conversation's been happening. And Rose asked specifically, Chaitra, It's great that, you know, WIC provides so many skilling opportunities and technical areas of expertise. What are the kinds of things that we can be doing to support the community around the soft skills, the leadership skills, the personal brand development skills? So is that something you want to, since we have 10 minutes left, do we want to talk about that?
Yes, so let's talk about the Insider Circle, and we have the members from Insider Circle. So Bijou, Crystal, and I think we have a couple of more. Just please unmute yourself if you're part of it. And I think Christina, you're there. If you can share the slides, I want to talk about why we created the Insider Circle. When the community grew so fast, they all started to become more like an email address. Does that make sense? A name and an email address, there's no emotion to it. And you can't really do a great work in serving people. So what we really wanted to do is to bring the community to become our extension, or think about Bijou is Bijou, but has the same philosophy of a woman in cloud. And she has the leadership gravitas that she brings in. Same thing with Crystal, same thing with Christine. So in different parts of the world, we have is this leadership gravitas, or that is embodiment of the vision that we want to create the world, where we create the access for each other. So that's kind of how the Insider Circle was created. So the goal was to cultivate that. It's the preparation piece. So you have to have the right set of people. They're guiding you. All the board of advisors are there, and we are celebrating you. So anytime you have good day or a bad day, you have something you can come, you can ask the questions, and you have the answers within the ecosystem. If you can share the slide, I'll step them through the capability that we created. As part of that, what we realized was one of the things was the brand development. As part of the brand development, you as a person is highlighted from what you master, what you can deliver, and then you become a thought leader in the market. And it's a journey. If you go out and hire a coach, you will definitely can get it done. It's thousands and thousands of dollars, and that's not available for women to go through it. And we couldn't really raise the scholarship for leadership like how we did for the technical scholarship. So we wanted women to really invest in themselves. And when you invest in yourself, you know that you are ready. That means you are putting the effort. This is one of the program we are not discounting. We are not providing any scholarship, because this is a place we want to see if a woman can really invest in stuff. The second one is ensuring that each one of them have a speaker sheet. Like there is, everyone knows that there is a speaker. So if Marianne is looking for speakers and she says, I need somebody who's done cybersecurity and they can talk about it, I have those speaker sheets, and they are prepared and they are ready to go into the market, and we can put you on the local stage or a global stage, you are ready. The third one is skills mastery. If you look at the universities and school, they really don't teach you skills that you're really, really good at for the AI, cloud, and cyber economy. That's like $7 trillion economy. So we wanted to make sure that you as an individual know how to solve the problem. You have the answer, but to bring that one in a succinct way so you can go on to the Bright Talk platform. It's a digital platform, and it allows you to practice your narrative and get you ready. Then once you have it, we have is a signature talk, making sure that you know how you can inspire people and create a platform for change. That one was a piece. Those are the 4 steps you have to do, that means it's like a mini accelerator. We need to put you through the steps you have to get there. And then comes is your opportunity. It is where invitations open up. We will invite you to speak on the WIC stages, whether it is, in South by Southwest, or it is in, WIC events, whatever that like, it'll start to unlock opportunity, because what we have seen is you have done all the work. And we know that when you are invited, we know you have we have 1,000% reliability score for you, that you will show up and do what needs to be done. We don't have to probe you. You are inspired, you are aspired, you're motivated to show up in the right way for the community. And then you get to invite into the global stages to talk at TEDx, TED, Davos, Oscars, South by Southwest, whichever the big stages. This is where you get to scale in millions. This is a program where it is very structurally put together. Along with it has access to your network. 100,000 people will amplify the work you're doing. Instantly, you are on the global stages, and you have early access to a lot of the events that are happening, some of the things that not even the public knows about it, only the insider circle knows about it. So you want to be the part of an insider circle. That's where that is where the silent conversations happen, which has the maximum impact. And this is the group that we are developing. We want to get to 1,000 people in the network. We are at closer to 60 right now. And as I said, it takes people to have the courage to show up, sign up, get there. And we want to see you all be part of it, because you have to invest in yourself before someone is going to invest in you. So that's kind of the philosophy of a leadership work that we are trying to do. Is that helpful for all of you? Like why we have the insider circle? Otherwise, we cannot. Tucker and I, we can scale. The board of advisors cannot scale. We want is the community to step in and start being part of it. So we're asking each one of you to step in, invest in yourself, and we are here and take you through the journey. So with that, Crystal, Bijou, you need to talk about how is your journey been, and is this something you suggest or recommend being part of it? Let me tell you, I've not paid any a bribe to them to say what they need to say. Whatever it comes out of their mouth, I will hear for the first time. So here you go, Bijou.
Well, I think the Insider Circle is completely amazing. So sign up immediately right now. What I find really valuable about it is that there are so many incredible people, and different people show up for each meeting, and there's always opportunity to learn from each one of those people that are going through different stages of this process. So it's a really exciting and inspiring place to be, no matter where you are on the journey. So I know some people are on the way to, or went to the Oscars this year, and some of us are like way back in the beginning of the process, but there's people the whole way, and you get to meet them, and really like Crystal, we had conversations together to help, like, oh, where are you at and where are you at? And this is how you can really build your core network.
Thank you, Bijou.
Thank you, Bijou. I could, even if I would have done a one-on-one call before this session, I wouldn't have got this such a perfect answer. My God, this is amazing. Thank you, Bijou, for being in the journey. And I'm looking forward for you to take on some of the big stages. It's just, you're so close, you're there.
Yeah, I keep hearing that message. I'm gonna get it one of these days, Chaitra.
Yes, you will.
Crystal, take us home.
Sure. Thanks for the shout out, Bijou. The Women in Cloud Insider Circle is definitely one of I refer to it as pods. So a pod is a core group of people that work together, or if you're a killer whale, you're hunting together. And also amplifying each other and, giving each other strength when you need it sometimes, right? It's give and take. Sometimes you give, sometimes you take, it depends. But I've been a member of other organizations that are focused on women leadership, as well as more functional, such as Women in Clean Tech and Sustainability. And I have to say, without a doubt, the group that Chaitra and Tucker have built for the Insider Circle is hands down the best one. After trying several things, this is the one I prioritize. And although they've mentioned that there is not a discount, that's because you're putting skin in the game. And quite frankly, it's still a great value. So check out the information that Miranda is sharing in the chat, and consider it an investment in yourself this year.
Thank you, Crystal.
Yeah, and some of you are asking, was the price? Well, it's $249 a year. It is 4 or 5 Starbucks coffee. If you can compromise on that, yeah, you have the membership. But I'll promise you, is like you will get more than $2,500 of value or up to $10,000 of value based on how fast and how quick you are prepared to do what you need to do. Because we are getting more and more visible and more getting ready, especially with the Icons movie getting ready. Each one of you will be the real voice in the market, and you get to screen, you get to create the network, and you will have access to it before anyone else have access to it. So think about as an investment in yours. And even when the corporations are asking, we will underwrite the price for a woman to be part of the program. We said, no, they need to spend. If they come back and ask for a refund, then reimburse at that time. But at this moment, we really want to help women to start investing in themselves. When you do it for yourself, then you can do it for others. If you can't even do it for you, then how can you do it for others? It's just my common analogy, like, philosophy on it. Make that commitment for yourself if you want to be. But remember, we have a lot of free stuff that is accessible for all of you that you can take part of. And then, Tucker, do you want to talk about a new program? We are launching during the Women's History Month, and only you know it. So it is only for very few people who get access to something like that. So Tucker, go ahead, talk about it.
Sure. I know we're at time, so I'll keep it real quick. But one of the things we wanted to do specifically is really encourage not just the personal work, but the visibility work. And this is allowing more access as much as possible. And our goal this year is to get 100 women on 100 different kinds of stages, all, whether it's all the stages that, Chaitra talked about. But if we do the work, we get on stage. And if we get on stage, we get the visibility. If we get the visibility, we have the ability to create impact. If we have the ability to create impact, that's the best kind of leadership that we can possibly have. So we're going to launch the top 100 specifically for the Insider Circle. So feel free to be a part of it in this community. And thank you all for joining today. We really appreciate your attendance. And yeah, Chaitra, any additional comments or parting comments?
First is thank you all. Hopefully you learned something. If you learned something, put it in the chat. What were your takeaways and one action? There are a couple of things. Can you go back to the one? There is scholarships that are available, which is the Cybersecurity Scholarship. And I would love each one of you to amplify. We have, in 2 weeks, we have 680 applications. So first is thank you for being part of it. If you applied, fantastic. And I'll put in a link for all of you to kind of amplify. If you could do it, that will be great for your friends and family to get access to it. The second one we have is the CISO leadership. Next slide, please. Oh, this is the Icons movie. We've talked about it. Next slide. Where did the slide go? Can you go to the slide number 25? There you go. This is the one which, if you're looking for getting into the cybersecurity roles and you don't know what kind of skill set you need, please sign up for this event. Again, it's free. You get to know what is the CISO's wish list. They will talk about what's the future skills that you need in next 6 months to 18 months based on what it is, and what are the soft skills you need to have. And based on that, we will be also creating is a DevSecOps community for you to acquire, like the community to help you really be bonding together and also giving you the skills you need so you can get into those $100,000 jobs that is waiting for you. So those are kind of the opportunities that are made available. So look for all the emails that comes out and be engaged. The more you get engaged, the more you show up, you are the next icon in the world. That's it I have.
Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you in the Insider Circle. Chaitra, thank you for your time as well. And Marissa, thank you for putting this all together, for Anda helping out, and for Crystal and Bijou being here from the Insider Circle. We're forever grateful, and we're looking forward to keeping the momentum going.
Yes, Doreen, go to the cybersecurity scholarship is available for the Women in Cloud ecosystem. Go ahead and look into the programs for cybersecurity. So reach out to Marissa or Ferenda, and they will provide you all the resources that you need. Again, thanks, Tucker. Thanks, Bijou, Crystal, Marissa,
Thank you.
Ferenda. Great work.